Hi, I'm BL Achman, and I'm here with David Erickson, my co-host, on episode 67 of the Beyond Social Media Show. Thanks for joining us today. You will find Dave on Twitter as D. Erickson. His blog is eStrategyBlog.com. He is, of course, on Google+. Our blog is BeyondSocialMediaShow.com, where we will post the timestamp video later and the playlist for today's show. I'm BL Achman. On Twitter, I'm at What's Next. My blog is What's Next Blog. I am CEO of Maximum-Plus.com for all things Google+. And, of course, I'm on Google+. And so it is our format to cover the best and the worst in digital communications in this past week, plus shiny new objects we know you're going to want to have, and important stats you should know. And I always get the honor of starting with the worst of the week. And I think that one of the worst things that happened this week was, well, Procter & Gamble is the latest. They say they won't include the NFL in their breast cancer awareness campaign, and kudos to them. But unfortunately, a whole bunch of other brands are just going on saying that they're making strong statements. Budweiser, we're not satisfied with the league's handling of behaviors that so clearly go against our company culture and moral code. Yeah, but we're supporting them with advertising. McDonald's, you know, we're watching. Pepsi, we're watching. Visa, Bridgestone, FedEx, General Motors, Marriott International. Oh, they all deplore violence, but they're still advertising. Come on, you talk with your wallet, and if you really deplore violence, and so much more of it came out this week, then you stop advertising with the NFL, period. That's the end of it.
Yeah, I agree and I disagree. I think
Of course you do.
well, what kind of a show would it be if we agreed on everything? So obviously the NFL has a major problem on their hands, and they have for a while with all these controversies. And they've got to address it, but part of the reason why they're addressing it, I would argue, is that these sponsors are putting pressure on them. No, they're not all of them abandoning the NFL as far as advertising dollars are concerned, but one, they have agreements in place prior to the controversies, right? So they have an investment they need to consider in terms of their marketing dollars. But also, if they abandon them, then there's no pressure to be brought to bear on the NFL to change its ways. So I would argue, in a way,
are you kidding me? If they abandon them because they have to change their policy toward players.
Well, clearly, the combination.
I let you talk. Let me talk. If they abandon them for that reason, then that's a very clear statement that change is necessary. And if they abandon them and say, "We'll come back when you change your policy," that's pretty clear.
Obviously, the pressure from advertisers who have dropped sponsorships with them has made an effect. But also the pressure of people who are saying you've got to change your ways, or we're not going to do business with you anymore, also has an effect. So the NFL isn't going away, right? I mean, people are still watching NFL football. It's still an advertising vehicle. It still draws a huge audience. So there's a combination between, I agree that they need to pressure them, and the NFL has to change their policies and change the ways they discipline players and everything. That's a huge mess. But in terms of advertising is concerned, I don't think it's gonna. I think they're doing what they have to do as corporations, basically.
Well, a side note on that, today in the New York Times, there's an op-ed piece by someone who was a, whatever the football equivalent of a ball boy was, talking about all the injuries and all the horrible things that happen on the field. It's a scary sport, Dave. I worry about you playing it, breaking your fingers and banging your head. Okay, well,
it's a fabulous sport. Well, that's why I break fingers. That's why.
Okay, well, also related to gender issues is the unfreaking imaginable behavior of Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft this week, who actually suggested that instead of asking for raises, women have good karma and trust that equal pay will happen because of good karma. Excuse me, but that's completely ridiculous. So of course the whole Twitter storm broke out, and everybody, everybody said, "What are you, nuts? Are you kidding? How you were beyond inarticulate? That was inept." And so he apologized, and he said he had been perhaps insensitive. Yeah, perhaps, But and the question was, what do you advise women who are interested in advancing their careers but not comfortable with asking for a raise? And his answer, trust in karma? I think not. So obviously the criticism got to him, and so what he said since then is that he regrets his statements, and now he wants Microsoft to be an agent of change in regard to gender disparity in the tech industry. And he said he just gave the wrong and terrible answer, and now he wants to lead the industry on diversity. Well, I freaking hope so.
I was absolutely stunned.
Yeah, that's stunning. That's exactly the right word.
Not stunned that somebody said that, but stunned that the CEO of Microsoft said that.
Yeah.
It was patronizing. It was condescending. It was all the worst possible things you can imagine.
And then some, like you're like, what was, obviously he wasn't thinking, and if you're the CEO of such a company, you got to be thinking all the time.
Yeah, and I think he addressed his mistake. It doesn't sound like he had a non-apology apology type of "if I offended someone, I apologize" apology. And if they're committed to addressing that issue, then good for them. We'll wait and see what happens. Right?
Well, we do have to wait and see because there's no other option. But oh my God, any statistic you look at will tell you that women make, at best, 73 cents on the dollar for men in tech, and more likely 50 cents on the dollar. How could he not know that? I mean, seriously, I'm appalled. But yes, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt this time. Okay, Dave, what's your bad news?
That was my bad news. I don't have anything other than that, so I'm just riffing off of your fine. So yeah, that's I don't have bad news. I've got some interesting news, and so I put this in the best category. Okay. And the Boston Globe has an article, fascinating article, on basically freelance terrorist hunters. And so you think of the U.S. government and the intelligence infrastructure going after trying to hunt down terrorists and everything, and that's how you typically think of it. But there has been over the past 5 years or so, a handful of individuals who are subject matter experts in terrorism who have been putting their skills to work researching terrorist groups and finding all kinds of intelligence simply from their own homes, using the internet and using social media to do this research. The article cites 2 independent researchers, one J.M. Berger, 47 years old, former journalist, freelance social network analyst, and extremist expert, and Aaron Zellin, 26 years old, who runs the jihadology blog, jihadology.net. And so they've been mining the jihad internet for years, tracking it with a combination of sort of old-school scholarship and new purpose-built apps that scrape content and database content. There's less than a dozen of these people out there, the report says, but they've earned their reputation over the past 4 years by being the first to report key developments later confirmed by mainstream media research and reporting, such as the split between the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda, the burst of jihad recruitment in the West, and the entry of Hezbollah into the Syrian battle. So in addition to their, like I said, in addition to their topic expertise, they've got these research skills. It's stunning that it's sort of the development of a crowdsourcing of the intelligence infrastructure. You see that, back in the day, MySpace was used for political organization. Terrorist groups are using the same tools to organize themselves, so why not mine those networks to find out intelligence about them? It's a fascinating article on sort of how the internet is being used to counteract terrorism by independent people, by not, who you typically think of doing this type of work.
Well, issues come up sometimes in situations like this that have to do with security issues. You know, how much of this information should be public? I wonder. I mean, I can't imagine that the CIA and the rest of the government agencies that are involved in seeking out terrorists are not also using the same information. So I kind of have a mixed response to this. I'm not sure that this is a great idea.
That's well. I mean, regardless of whether you think it's a great idea, it's happening. These terrorist groups are using social networks in public, so there's public data. And the article points out that these individuals who have been doing this research have had, up until recently, sort of dismissive response from government officials and people in the intelligence community because they got their information from Facebook, so it's clearly not credible. So there has been a dismissive attitude towards information that's out there. So that's sort of, troubling.
Well, you know, it ends up that the government hires the best hackers. Maybe they'll start hiring the best.
Exactly. Yeah. These people are getting deals, so they're getting consulting deals and stuff. So it appears they're being taken seriously now.
It's a really interesting development. I mean, because everybody's a journalist now. You know, everybody's got access to tools that they may or may not use well. It's a fascinating way that we live now. So in terms of best news, one of the things that I found, you know, the big thing in charity is challenges, and to bring home the absolutely mind-bogglingly critical issue of water shortages, the 4-liter challenge has been launched, and what it asks you to do is to live for 24 hours with only 4 liters of water, and that includes showering and washing dishes and cooking and drinking, and it's pretty close to impossible, and there are an awful lot of people all over the world who are living with less, and it's happening in California. I mean, there are people in California who can't wash the dishes, take a shower, cook, at all anymore because there's no water. So the 4-liter challenge is an incredibly effective way to bring this information home. And of course, you're asked to donate, and it's for the numeral 4 liters.org. We'll put it in the show notes, but it seems to me an incredibly effective way of bringing that about.
Yeah, it's a huge, huge, huge issue. It has been for a while. It's only going to be bigger. I mean, resources, water is essential to life. So it brings up a major issue. But I'd say the only problem with it is that it's using the metric system, and we Americans rejected the metric system long ago.
True, it's true, but our water bottles are liters. You know, if you drink bottled water, you get a liter or a half liter, so you kind of have a sense of it, and it's about time we figured it out, Go ahead, Dave. Tell us what.
Yeah, well, I meant to talk about this last week, but I forgot to put it in the show notes for last week. I don't know how I forgot because it's so freaking amazing. Do-it-yourself invisibility.
Oh, I love that.
It's here! Oh my God! So, you a fan of Harry Potter?
Yeah.
So the cool thing in Harry Potter stories is the invisibility cloak that may be coming to a store near you. Researchers at the University of Rochester have apparently created a lens that renders objects invisible by bending light around the object with no distortion when viewed from various angles, right? So they've assembled this device with materials costing less than $1,000 and published instructions for creating your own invisibility device. The Rochester cloak is what they're calling it, can be scaled up as large as the size of the lens, so it's allowing for making fairly large objects invisible. It works for the whole visible light spectrum, so other attempts at creating invisibility devices didn't account for that, so rather than just specific frequencies, it works for the whole spectrum of light. The military's got to be all over this, you'd think, but imagine, I mean, $1,000, less than $1,000 worth of materials, police departments using it to hide their cars for speed traps, and if you can create your own device, that makes, anybody can make an invisibility invisible device. It's incredible. And if you see the video, we'll include links to the video and everything in the show notes. It's amazing because they pass the hand in front of the lens and you see the background.
See it. Yeah, it is really amazing. And what I want now is to be able to walk through walls. I'm waiting for that one. So, speaking of coolness, I'm not sure if this is good or bad. Volkswagen has tapped the two Jewish stars of Star Trek, and who knew? But they last year. It's Scottie and Captain Kirk, and last year Volkswagen donated more than $1 million to an international youth center at Auschwitz, and in 2011 it donated $1 million to the Anti-Defamation League, and in 2009 it was reported that the Beetle, that iconic VW creation, was actually designed by a Jewish designer. But unfortunately, VW cooperated with the Nazis during the Third Reich, and they've been boycotted by many Jews as a result. So they may finally have figured out a way to Bemah me up Scottie, and they recruited Captain Kirk and Scottie to plug the e-Golf car, their new sort of electric car. So Shatner and Nimoy, who are both Jewish, star in this campaign, and there are several cartoons, and Volkswagen says they were tapped because the Vulcan salute and the Volkswagen logo have so much in common. It's a bit of a stretch, but anyway, as any Trekkie worth his salt knows, it's similar to a Jewish blessing sign that's two hands forming the letter Shin that frequently appears on Jewish gravestones. So it's kind of amusing, and it's also sort of, William Shatner is so shameless. I mean, there's nothing he won't do for money. And here he is again in the quest for more money.
Well, he gets away with it by simply being William Shatner, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just can't forget. What was that song he sang?
Oh my God, yeah.
I can never get over that. Every time I see him, I think of that. What was the song? It was so god-awful.
He had a whole album worth of really
horrible songs. Yes, he really should not play in public.
Well, that's better late than never, right? They do have a history to overcome, and I guess they're starting.
And the ads are cool, I mean, I must say. But Leonard Nimoy is a little long in the tooth,
What else have you got? I'm all tapped out for good stuff.
Okay, well, I found Poachable, which is really cool. It's kind of like a dating site for jobs. You tell them what it would take for you to change jobs. You tell them what your companies are that you would really like to work in. And you do this anonymously, and then they look for opportunities. They scour the web. They look for opportunities that match what you say, and they let you know what they found. And if you say you might be interested, they contact those employers, but they don't reveal your identity. They just give them like high-level stuff like your previous employment, your current seniority, your skill set. And then if the company says they're interested, they make an introduction, and they set up an informational phone call. And so they say that in the early matching process, they might say, we have a member who is currently a product management director at Amazon with over 12 years of experience in product management. He previously worked, doesn't say he or she, previously worked at other leading companies as well as startups, MBA from a top school. Let us know if you'd like to indicate reciprocal interest. If so, we'll ask them if they're open to revealing their profile to you. And the interesting thing is the site was launched by a group of ex-Google, Microsoft, and Amazon employees, and it's backed by executives from eBay, Facebook, Nike, and the law firm WSGR. So while they were poking around in the data that they have, and several thousand people have joined and a couple thousand companies, they said that the interesting stat they found was that people in the tech industry want to get poached by Google far more than any other tech company. And of course, what they want to join is Google X, which is where they do all the really cool stuff, the moonshots and the self-driving cars and the internet balloons. Of course, that's where they want to work. I want to work there too. And that compares, apparently, more than 55% want to be poached by Google, as compared to 11% who want to work for Apple. and 8% who want to work for Amazon, and 5% who want to work for Facebook. So that sample was only 500 people, but you know, it does look like Google's the king of dream jobs, and nonetheless the results are not that surprising, because who wouldn't want to work there?
Well, another example of how the playing field has really been leveled over the past 5-10 years between employee and employer, right? And more information at the hands of employees and more tools at the hands of employees to sort of dictate better employment terms and where they want to work and everything. And so probably good news for employees, not so much good news for employers. But it's interesting that some of the top tech people are behind this too. So
I thought that was really interesting too, but why would it not be good news for employers? I mean, they might not have known.
You want to retain your talent, so you know, it's poachable, right? You're poaching employees is basically what it's about. So
I guess. So that brings us to shiny new objects, and Google had a bunch of them this week. They launched something I think is really fascinating. It's an iOS app, not launched first for Android, go figure. And it's called Primer, and it's got 5-minute marketing lessons for startups and others who are new to marketing. And they have case studies so far: content marketing, PR and media, search advertising, and more topics are to come. So they'll say, here's something that worked for, you know, this company. And in 5 minutes you can learn what that was, which I think is mighty cool of them. Kind of a fun thing to have on your phone, don't you think?
very good, yeah, absolutely.
Tell me your shiny new object.
So I'm going to double up on and steal one of yours that you posted just before the show. Google+ launch polls, and so I create so it's just another option in your status update. You can create a poll from your Google+ profile, and I did a quick one on paper camera, whether you use the paper camera app or not, and that's really my shiny new object is the paper camera app. So this is an app for Android. It costs $1.99 on Android, and for iPhone it is free, but there's a 99-cent subscription, 99 cents per month subscription to the premium version, and it only works on the latest update of iOS 8. So you need to upgrade that before you can use it. But it is a camera app with fantastic filters. So it's got pastel filters, it's got a sketch filter, it's got sepia tone drawing filter, an Andy Warhol-like filter, but fine-tuned controls, so you can control the brightness, contrast lines. With the paid version, it removes a watermark, so the free version has a watermark for paper camera app. You get free lifetime upgrades, new filters each month. You can import video, so you can filter videos as well. So I put some examples, I'll include in the show notes some examples of what it can do, but I did one a hyperlapse video of some traffic in Minneapolis, and then ran it through the paper camera app to give it sort of a drawing feel. It's just a really, really cool app for photography and video. So that's one of my shiny new stuff. What do you got?
Well, back to polls. Google bought Polestar actually during the summer, really not a long time ago, and so as part of your Google+ posts now, you can immediately, quickly click on polls, create a poll, and the cool part is how nicely designed it is, because you can put a picture in as the background, and you can, when you click on the results, and I will put some examples into the show notes. When you click on the results, you get instant response, and you can see who said what, and it's just another interactive tool that a lot of us hope will be added very soon to Hangouts, and really, really cool, because you can do things. You can really make it look pretty and spread it far and wide, and get stats to share on other platforms. It's a great addition.
Yeah, looks really cool, and you can comment on the poll too. So you can ask a poll question and then ask people open-ended questions. Basically, share what you want shared in the comments. So creating the interactivity that expands the reach of the post itself. It seems like a really good way of getting engagement on Google+ and finding new audiences as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also this week, Dave Berbris, who's the new head of social at Google, pointed out that Google Plus is not going anywhere, of course, and that there's a renewed emphasis on Hangouts, on communities, which are one of the things that make Hangouts so powerful, and on the photo app, which if you haven't used it, you really should try. And one of the amazing things about the photo app is that you get unlimited storage. It doesn't count for the free storage that you get. You get unlimited storage of photos up to a certain size, 2,500 pixels or something like that, but that's still pretty big. And so a lot is going on. I have some more, but tell us about Click to Tweet. I think that's very cool.
I will. Just let me follow up with the photo thing too, though. I've just recently been getting a lot more auto awesome photos, which is a fantastic feature of Google Photos, and it does seriously create awesome photos. But secondly, last week I mentioned I went to the Fleetwood Mac concert, and I obviously took a lot of photos at the concert. And
it made a story for you, right?
It made a story for me. It's fantastic. It's really good. It's the first example I've really seen of how it uses photos to make a story that was really compelling. So, you know, concert photos, and it was really good. So anyway, on to Click to Tweet WordPress plugin. So this I just started using on our company's blog. It's made from coschedule.com. And we'll have links to in the show notes to get the WordPress plugin. Basically, you just do the plugin, and it allows you to use a short code to paste into your blog entries that will create a nice formatted Twitter box from which people can tweet that whatever you put in the tweet. So you can pre-populate tweets
from your post. From your post. Yeah.
And it pulls the URL of the page in question and puts it automatically into the tweet. So it's a great way of creating social activity around your post. I'm using it in a post for statistics on stuff that I'm talking about. And so it's really nice. It's similar to but different from Click to Tweet service. And I don't know if they're related from the same company or not. It doesn't appear so, but I think I've mentioned Click to Tweet before in a previous podcast. But this Click to Tweet creates a link that when you click on it, it loads a pre-populated tweet. So it would be something that you'd create in a blog post with a link that says click to tweet this stat or whatever, but it's not a formatted box like the WordPress plugin does.
I use pull quote, which comes from blogads.net. Henry Copeland developed it, and it does basically the same thing. When you have your mouse over something, it asks you if you want to quote it, and if you want to tweet it or you want to quote it somewhere else. And it's also free, and it works within WordPress. And those are really good ways to spread social information, and worth a look. So another really cool thing that happened this week in Google+ was that Google launched a new desktop Hangouts app for Chrome, and it's very pretty. And basically, it sits. The box stays on your desktop so that you can launch a Hangout video call, not a Hangout on air, from your desktop, and you see the photo of the person or the multiple people in the call right in the little app. But you can pin that app to stay on top, because if you do these, they kind of disappeared. You're like looking all over your desktop, like where'd the call go? So you can pin it, and then when you're done with the call, you unpin it. You can open it with Chrome or Gmail, but you still do need a Google+ profile to use anything within a Hangout video call besides chat and screen share, which are pretty much what most people do want to use in a video call, is chat and screen share, because they want to do collaboration. But it's very nicely designed. It doesn't work as prettily in iOS, but it will. But definitely worth having. And it comes with a Chrome apps launcher so that you can launch or shut off your Chrome apps, and as anybody who does Hangouts on air knows, you want to shut most of your apps and anything that's running in the background anytime you're doing a Hangout anyway, because it draws power from your computer and screws up the way your Hangouts look. So talking about iOS, which I do want to bitch about, I updated my iPhone 4S to 8.0, and everything was cool, and then 8.1 came out, and now my camera doesn't work. Oh, come on.
No, I hear you. I didn't want to upgrade to the latest version because my last upgrade I had to wipe my phone to get it upgraded, and it's like,
But you
come
can't
on.
go back. I mean, you were able to go back until Sunday night, and I thought, like, oh, I'm not going to go back because, of course, they'll fix this. Well, they didn't. So, you know, the camera is one of the things that makes your phone such a cool thing.
You can't use paper camera now because
No, all I see is, you know, like, bright light. I mean, it's terrible. Some people have been tweeting to me some things to try, so after the show, I guess I'll try that. You know, try to go back to 8.0 or 8.01 or whatever the hell you can go back to. But Apple stopped signing off on the efficacy of 7.1 and other previous versions so that you could not go back. Not good.
Yeah.
Bad. So I think that brings us right to the daily numbers, Dave.
Very good. So holiday season is around the corner, and for some, the corner is closer than others. Holiday season is beginning earlier for some shoppers. This is from a Google customer survey conducted in July. 29% of shoppers will start holiday shopping before Halloween. So 19% will start shopping on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. 48% will do so in early December. Not only was consumer interest in Black Friday up 27% year over year from 2012, but queries related to the topic also started about a week earlier. I've got a chart. We'll share it in the show notes that shows from 2012 to 2013 a spike in shopping shopping interest, search volume interest earlier in the year than from the previous year. So it appears that the holiday season is expanding into one long consumer holiday.
I am always astounded by people who are done with their holiday shopping in August, or, you know, done by now. Like, that is beyond organized. I am never going to be that organized in my life. I mean, it's just never going to happen. I mean, I admire that. I think that's cool. Why do you think that's happening?
Well, I think the more options. I mean, people have it's part retailer based. They're expanding they're starting to promote earlier and earlier. People are responding to that, but also because of all the things that we have at our disposal, the internet infrastructure, people can get all their stuff out of the way and enjoy their time with family instead of shopping.
So I think that brings us to the end of episode 67 of Beyond Social Media Show. Why don't you take us out, Dave?
Thank you for watching. This has been the Beyond Social Media Show. You can find me on Twitter at @derickson. My website is, or my blog is e-strategyblog.com. You can find BL at whatsnextblog.com. She's on Twitter at whatsnext is her username on Twitter, and you can find her on for all things Google+. She's the CEO of Maximum Plus, and you can find that at maximum-plus.com.
We'll see you next Saturday. Thanks for watching.